Hello there, welcome to Music Industry City's Tuesday Talkies, where we discuss what's going on in the world of music business. I'm Peter Schwing, and joining me today, my co-hosts Sam Tall and the Duke. If there's something you'd like to chime in about, leave a comment below or join us in the chat. Don't be shy, it's okay. We actually really want to hear what your thoughts on these topics are, if there's something you want us to cover. So, well, coming up on today's show, let's see. Well, Twitch apologizes to its users, but is that enough? And listening to music without headphones is now a thing. So we got a lot to cover. Let's get to it. Twitch made a blog post and sent an email to its users that contained what some people, I guess, could construe as an apology. And while keeping things vague, they certainly aren't taking responsibility for the actual issue at hand. In the blog post and email to their users, they stated, "You're rightly upset that the only option we provided was a mass deletion tool for clips, and that we only gave you 3 days notice to use this tool. We could have developed more sophisticated user-friendly tools a while ago. That we didn't is on us. And we could have provided creators with a longer time period to address their VOD and clip libraries. That was a miss as well. We're truly sorry for these mistakes and will do better." So basically, that sounds kind of a little bit of like a oops, my bad. And also a little reminds me of that Gillette commercial. It's like where they were like, "Men, you can do better." Well, Twitch, you can certainly do better. And here with his take on this is Sam Tall. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good, Peter, but this is just this has been on my mind for like the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. I got the email. Okay, so let's talk about the first thing. What they're apologizing for. Not the right thing. They're not apologizing for not obtaining the rights, putting their users in this space. They've been banning people, and sometimes their bans are like, they're permanent bans, and you really can't have a hard time fighting it. There was a person that was banned because of a car driving. They were out on the street, car driving behind them. A Kanye song gets played. They're banned. Now, ephemeral use could potentially fall like that. You could have ephemeral use as a case against that if Twitch had even most of the licenses in place, because I mean, it's a gray area, but still, that's a car going behind you, banned. Okay. And other thing that's an issue, and Devin Nash, and if people want to follow Devin Nash. Devin has a great videos up, has some great videos up talking about where even when Twitch streamers have deleted their VODs, okay, they are still on a Twitch public server. He went in and found that he deleted all his clips and went and found them on the web. And that is also what the labels are and the systems are looking for. So they're still finding the content and striking it. And that's what they're saying is some of these Twitch bans aren't there. Going on, because it's but Emmett Shear, the CEO at GlitchCon, which occurred this weekend, very weird keynote address that he did. He's saying that they're coming to like terms like, and the gist of it was saying, and something to say, it's not fair to creators what's happening. Okay. He's talking to his user base, calling them creators. Well, who created the music? Creators. So what he in essence is doing, so Twitch users are saying greedy record labels, greedy, it's like, and the music, like they don't want to pay. It's like, because they don't understand it. And like, is there greed in the record industry? Well, yeah. But he's putting creators versus creators when they're the ones that stirred this up.
That's frustrating. A little bit of context on something here. Since I've started working at Studio 71 about a year and a half ago, I came from the background of being an artist manager. So everything was artist. And even at the first few months in the role at a company that works predominantly with YouTubers and Instagram influencers, et cetera, I was still using that as my like default nomenclature, artist. And now it's creator. That's just a fact of the entertainment space that I'm in. It's also, I think, a fact of the shift in the entertainment business at large is that we are sort of ambiguating what creative output means and Music artists are part of that. Video creators are part of that. Vloggers, photographers, everybody's a creator. So it's difficult when you're in the position of CEO of Twitch to say creators and not mean everybody. You certainly can't say creators and mean some of the people, mean your users. You can talk about your users. You can talk about your streamers on Twitch, Twitchers, Instagrammers, TikTokers. You can't talk about creators without including everybody across platforms. And I think there's also the fact of kind of like how outsized the response has been from the record business. Because this all came about as a result of like some mass DMCA takedown requests that Twitch kind of just like went ahead and complied with and didn't provide a whole lot of notice. I will give YouTube some credit in that YouTube wants content to stay up because they don't fear the legal battle. They're a public company. They have the licenses. They have a lot of history of doing this. Twitch does not. They're owned by a public company, sure, but they're still sort of an underdog of sorts in the video entertainment space. So they're still figuring out how they want to handle this, and they handle it in the worst possible way. They handle it, frankly, similarly to how GitHub handled the YouTube DL takedown that the RIAA issued that caused a lot of stuff to break. Legitimate projects, legitimate archiving projects and data scraping projects by people who own the material they're downloading. But because it can be used to download music, so it must be piracy only. Because music is streamed in the background of a game or played in the background of a lifestyle streamer, they're distributing music or they're syncing music without a license. I don't buy that argument. I think that's an unfair interpretation. And this is coming from somebody who works every day for independent creators, who works for music rights on platforms like this, who works directly with artists to make sure they get the revenue that they're owed. And I'm saying, like, this is crazy. Frankly, I think Twitch acknowledges that they could have done a better job, but the way that they're framing it is that they could have done a better job to cover their own users at the expense of everyone else. But they still expended their own users, and so they're not going to do anything about that. It's basically like an apology for doing everything wrong, but also not really fully taking responsibility and not promising to do better, just like we could have done better. Mm. And there's no clarity as to who actually they should be serving in this.
What's really interesting is, so one of the other emails, I might have been the same email or the one before that, and they talk about the number of takedown notices. And they said they received 50 up until like May, they received about 50 per year. Okay. Well, let's think about that. That's one a week. All right. So
that's not that much.
But then in May, they started getting thousands. And then the avalanche came after Bezos went up, and testified, appeared before Congress. So that opened the door, and the music industry walked in and said, hey, we don't like what we see in your house. So, but the thing is, they say in that email, we didn't expect this. We didn't see this coming, in essence. It's like, and then they're saying, so, they go on to now. The other thing that Twitch streamers are saying is that they released Soundtrack right after they made their first announcement about takedowns and notices. And in the Music Business Worldwide article, it says, in the meantime, we're focused on building tools to better help you manage VODs and clips and providing licensed music options like Soundtrack while we explore all options. So Soundtrack doesn't have all the licensing in place. That's already been found out. But here's the other thing that is so interesting about what Twitch streamers calling this conspiracy, that they're pushing Soundtrack. If you go to Twitch and you go to the terms and conditions and all the legal jargon and the FAQs and everything, and you talk about Twitch music, they have all it in that nice legal template and everything. And then they just added in this paragraph, this section. And Basically, it was saying, well, if you have an issue, you can always use Soundtrack. Check out Soundtrack. It's a marketing pitch in the middle of a legal document for people to go and use. I was cracking up when I saw this.
Oh, that's so ham-fisted.
It is, and it's because, and here's the other thing, Twitch has a communications problem the way they are talking to their users. They like to throw in this lighthearted, all this like, you're a great person, like, welcome to Twitch. Today's color is purple. Aren't you happy today? And then they'll give you like all this stuff. So they have this condescending tone. And they aren't allowing it's interfering with how to properly address this issue. So this whole thing is also going on with DMCA, okay? And, I also know you were talking about like the senator that is saying like, here's the question, is it time to reform the DMCA?
Well, I think so. I think a lot of people would agree. I think people on both sides of the argument would say that, yes, now is the time to reform it. So for those who haven't seen this news, Senator Tom Tillis, who just won his re-election in North Carolina, is going to bat for DMCA reform. Not taking a side quite yet, just kind of making the case that like there's a lot here that seems unfair in a modern economic context. So he's taking public comment from stakeholders and is planning to release a report and some preliminary bill draft language in about a month's time. From the time of this recording. It kind of like rings familiar to me from when Orrin Hatch put his name on the MMA, right? That took a lot of time. It took a lot of effort, a lot of hearings, a lot of debate, certainly, but ultimately was essentially unanimous. I mean, there were, shades of blue that you could argue around, and whether things, there are various parties who have concerns about whether the MLC is backed by Harry Fox or somebody else or an independent consortium or whatever, but nobody argued the fact that it had to exist. And this was necessary to kind of go to the next phase. I think the DMCA reform is part of that. But DMCA is obviously not just music. It's all copyright and the nature of platforms. And we exist in a platform economy now, to the point of even taxi drivers exist on a platform, not in a dispatch system, not in an employment system, apparently. I think it's going to be hugely impactful to the entertainment economy as we know it today. I think it's going to be a lot of time spent watching that. It's not going to happen very soon. It's good that we're getting the ball rolling. I think it would answer a lot of questions that Twitch feels like they can't answer themselves. I feel like it would help a lot with sort of like the European debate around platforms and copyright responsibility now is being reflected in a conversation that we're having over here. So we're getting kind of a globalized understanding of how rights are exploited and used and monetized, which is a beautiful thing. And it makes a great many people's living possible. We just have to, be honest about how we handle it and not just side on the end of Google and Amazon and Apple and Facebook and say like, well, they just were bought and sold. Can we at least have an intellectually honest conversation on behalf of the creators?
Right. And one of the things, and this really has a lot to do on the music side as well. And that's what a lot of musicians forget. It's that copyright law is for all creators. Mm-hmm. And so that makes it even, more difficult. Like, cause then like, what is a derivative work in painting? What is a derivative work in music? So one of the things is about these takedown notices, and he talks about Section 512 places the burden on copyright owners to identify infringing materials and affirmatively ask the OSP to remove the material or disable access to it. This burden appears to strike the correct balance, but the burden that the notice and takedown system itself places on copyright owners is too heavy. The system is also woefully inefficient for both copyright owners and service providers. I think that's where we are, to bring it full circle, is in this Twitch space.
Well, that was part and parcel of my former job as a project manager at TuneSat, which was a proprietary software developed for the identification of fingerprinted rights. So basically like a content ID system, but built in-house and used for specific clients who are paying for that service to kind of separately scan in addition to what they were already able to get with Content ID, which we know is not as fully capable as YouTube would like us to believe. PEX is another great company in this space where they separately scan assets and then go and detect uses. The system as it is, in its most rudimentary form, as it impacted Twitch and as it's been working on Facebook and Instagram until recently, is you fill out a form. The burden is on you to know where the uses are occurring. You fill out all the information, you make your claim. The platform then has to manually review that submission, adjudicate it, and then take action. And they don't necessarily have to do anything more than just take action, which is where a lot of the Twitch creators, got upset, is that they were never notified that this was even coming, and they had no opportunity to address it. But I think the thing that illustrates to me is that the nature of the creator is very heavily influenced at this point by the way that YouTube Content ID works. And so my hope is that other platforms will adapt a similar approach. Not that they'll just rely straightforward on the DMCA takedown notice system that's just very sort of one-sided. Your content comes down, your revenue is impacted, but you can appeal and you can go to court about it if you want. That's up to you, though. That's ridiculous. There has to be a system in place that's arbitrating, and that's what Content ID serves now.
And YouTube, none of those companies want to be the arbitrator. It's like, here's the situation, so where's that third party?
Well, and I'll even separately, scan and identify a use of maybe one of my creators' copyrights, but then go into YouTube to lay that claim or issue that takedown through that automated system. So it's a little bit better managed. And at that point, the creator, the creator of the video that contains my creator's music can then dispute that takedown directly to me and give me their case. It doesn't have to go through YouTube, and then YouTube has to shuttle the message back and forth. They can just communicate directly with me. It's a space where we can do these things literally with the click of a button, as opposed to waiting for emails to come back and forth. That's so necessary. If that's not fundamental to this next wave of DMCA, of content management as a crux of digital economy, then we've completely missed the opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's definitely a lot in place, and this isn't going to go away anytime soon. So we're going to stay on top of this. Thanks, Sam. As always, great seeing you. So we turn our focus now to listening to music without headphones and in your own space. I mean, other people aren't going to hear this. So how is this possible? Well, the Associated Press had the opportunity to experience an exclusive demo by Novetto Solutions on their Soundbeamer. All technical jargon aside, the sound basically follows you. You can hear it within your space. So that's the possibility presented by Soundbeamer, a new futuristic audio technology from Novetto Systems, Israeli company. On Friday, it will debut a desktop device that beams sound directly to a listener without the need for headphones. To share his perspective on this, we check in with the Duke. Dave, that's not Dave. How about this? There's Dave. How you doing, Dave?
I looked like Sam for a second. I was getting better looking back.
Oh, what's the good word?
Everything is good, man. Yeah, this sounds really futuristic and Star Warsian, but I don't know, man. I would like to try it first and foremost. How do you feel, Peter? Yes.
I would love to see because it's really tough to tell from watching a video of somebody listening. It's kind of weird. It's like watching people dance without hearing the music, but you can see people they're like, oh wait, I can hear it over here. And it's so I would love to see how the quality is. And I can't imagine it being great right now, but it's just starting. But the fact that is it almost like that, kind of like we were going to be walking around this invisible dome around our head? Is that it's like this weird, really futuristic thing. So, but I want to hear what you have to say, and we'll come back to that.
Well, yeah, I think that we all grew up we've all grown up with headphones and speaker systems, and nothing's really changed in that regard. I do remember hearing about quadraphonic sound, though I never got to experience it. And then, of course, 5.1 surround sound, which is rad. And we all know that from movie theaters. And, I've done some mixing on it, which is cool. But this sounds really futuristic and really awesome, and I would love to try it. I love to mix on it. I would love to see how it changed based on your spatialness, because it says it's coming from behind you and in front of you, all around you at the same time. So I'm really excited about that. And at the same time, I think with much power comes great responsibility. I think this could be used as a weapon. As strange as it sounds, I do remember hearing stories about way back in the days that sound being used as a weapon, which I find interesting. But if something is zoned just to you, if somebody turns that volume up, how can you get away from it if it's zoned to you? It's not headphones, it's not coming out of a speaker, so you can't run from it. It seems a bit strange to me in that regard. So I would like to know how it zones to your frequency, to your vibration, and why nobody else can hear it. And then, yeah, that weaponized music thing seems a bit strange to me. But pluses and minuses. That's how I feel about it. I'm excited by it. I would like to try it first. I don't know if you guys are into video games, but the arcade one-up systems that came out, they look really great. But when you get in front of it, you realize that it's made by Target and that the joysticks are pieces of doo-doo. And a lot of things look great in magazines, but until you hear them, you don't really know. So I'm kind of like skeptic on it until I can actually hear it.
Yeah, the couple of things that come to mind is like, when you're talking about quadraphonic sound and Dolby, it's like, and then the binaural recordings. Like now it's like, does it become like this? Can you make it this 3D space? Like if it's speakers, typically you just think of a speaker system, left, right. Then it became left, right, center, and then surround. But like, does it become a real 3D? And if you're recording like binaural sound, you can actually really just kind of pinpoint sections of somebody's head. And then when you're talking about like using it as a weapon, I mean, that's really interesting. Like then there's going to be companies like buy our, audio defender like app, and then you have to walk around with a force shield to prevent audio from breaking through your barrier.
And here's one more thing. Say your girlfriend or boyfriend is yapping at you, right? And you're like, man, I can't take this anymore. And you got the death metal button ready, and you just hit that black death metal button and just bam, shoot it right into their head, just like, rah, 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 rah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to go on it. So very exciting, very exciting.
Yeah. I imagine they might have a radius, like, it can only project like, say, like Bluetooth or something. So you'd have to be within a few feet of the person to be able to pull off. Because that's what it looks like watching the videos. And we put the links to the articles in the show notes if you want to check it out. It looks like like a tablet and a desktop, and you have to be within like that space. Like it would have to be kind of like right where my Music Industry City coffee cup is. So, I think it's really interesting that like, and it's that kind of future. And I originally thought it was going to be that one of those, like it taps into the bone here, because that's what, a lot of the jaw, but like those old, when they started getting like, you had the wireless headsets and they become smaller and smaller, and it would be pressing up against the bone to send the vibrations. And that's how you would actually hear the music.
I think we're moving closer and closer to all being in a bubble, and the music will just be in our heads.
Right. Well, maybe we can beam it around the world. All right. Thank you so much. Great seeing you, Dave. All right. And that's it for today. Thank you all for tuning in. If you want to continue the conversation, leave a comment below. And if you find this interesting, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell or the like button, whatever platform you're on. Do what those things, the plus, the one up, I don't know what they are anymore. And speaking of shows, we are starting a new one this Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. And it's called New Thoughts. Stephanie Carlin, who was originally with the Tuesday Talkies team, she's over on New Thoughts. Tomorrow, too, we do Wednesday Industry News. It's a roundup of items we feel are important, and you should too. Plus Thursday night's Freeform, where you get to be on the show. So you can find out all this information if you sign up over at musicindustrycity.com. You can also find us on your preferred podcast player. Thank you again to my co-host, Sam, and the Duke. Have a rockin' day. Peace.